I've mentioned quite a few projects, and platforms, CDI and Arai and the MSC, and I could drill down into those in more detail to kind of illustrate, again, some of the points that I've tried to make. But I actually think that actions speak louder than words. So what I'm going to do now is hand over to Burr Sutter, who's been working with the engineering team to develop a highly dynamic and highly interactive demonstration of quite a few of the points that I've just made. Burr?
All right. Thank you, Mark. All right. Well, thank you guys very much. This will be an interesting several set of minutes for us because we're very much focused on demonstrating some of the key attributes you guys have heard about. So you heard about being easily embeddable, highly elastic, highly available, massively scalable, right? These are the attributes you hear about the cloud and, of course, the modern mobile movement. So we've created a demonstration, and we're going to show it to you live right here on stage. And so we're going to have a little fun with this. And we're going to need your participation as well, so keep that in mind. So right here, you can see up here on our screen, we have the red grid, all right? We're actually going to take a live Twitter stream into that grid. We're going to fill up an enterprise data grid, an InfiniSpan grid, all right? And we're going to hold all the data there. And then we're actually going to use Drools, all right, the JBoss PRMS, and we're going to analyze that data. We're going to do stream analysis, complex event processing. We're going to look at that huge data set, that massive data stream, and process it and move it to a second grid. And then we're going to have some activities on the second grid that are going to be very fun. All right, so our demonstration here today involves HTML5 for building rich user interfaces and specifically running those user interfaces on the desktop, which you'll see here in a moment, and also on mobile devices, which you'll see as well. We're going to use InfiniSpan. We don't want any data, right? Or excuse me, we don't want any databases. We have a NoSQL environment here. We're going to use InfiniSpan to keep all that memory, all that data in memory. We're going to use Hibernate OGM, Object Grid Mapper, a project you guys might not have heard of yet, but that allows me to address the data grid just as if it was a relational database. So we're going to interact with it through standard means in a standard enterprise Java way, but it's pretty much just Hibernate talking to the grid. We're also going to use Drools, we mentioned earlier. We also have CDI, context and dependency injection, JSR 299, and of course we run all this on JBoss, right? All right, so we have the reason we chose Twitter, a couple things that you should know about that. Twitter has over 75 million users. How many people in the audience use Twitter already, have a Twitter account? All right, excellent. We're going to need your participation, so keep that in mind. So 75 million users worldwide. They're growing at 500,000 users a day. All right, they process around, I think the last peak point was 140 million tweets per day. And they, at last one peak point, they had 7,000 tweets per second or transactions per second. So hopefully you guys recognize that as a large data stream. All right, so that was the easiest way for us to manufacture one. We just borrowed one. Another thing to think about with Twitter is it represents some things inside your typical enterprise. Right? If you're a retail organization, or let's say you work for an insurance company, or perhaps you actually work for a financial services company, you might have a ton of point-of-sale transactions that are occurring throughout your overall industry. Right? Think of your overall nervous system and all your IT infrastructure out there. If you have a ton of point-of-sale transactions, there might be specific events that you need to react to. You need to filter out that data and look for very specific actionable things to take advantage of. Perhaps you need to replenish stock, or you need to rebalance things within a warehouse, or you have to create orders that go out to your manufacturers. And if you're in a healthcare environment, perhaps, right, you have all these monitoring devices inside a healthcare institution that actually are creating events, producing logs, producing events that you might want to react to. So that's kind of the concept we wanted to show here in this presentation also. All right? So to help me do this presentation, we're going to invite some people up on stage. First one is going to be Manik Sartani. All right, Manik, please come on up. He's our project lead for InfiniSpan.
Hello, Bert. How are you doing?
So can you give us a little background on what InfiniSpan is, more so than I just did?
Sure, absolutely. So InfiniSpan is the open source project behind the enterprise data grid product that Craig just mentioned and announced. InfiniSpan essentially represents itself as an in-memory data structure, a distributed data structure that is fault-tolerant and gives you low latency, fast access to data. It's also elastic, and it scales with scales out and scales back in on demand. people use InfiniSpan in a number of different ways. We see people using InfiniSpan to cluster their own applications. You can use InfiniSpan, you can delegate any state that you hold in your application to InfiniSpan. So InfiniSpan takes care of the elasticity and high availability aspects of your data, thereby leaving your application in a stateless manner so you can scale out very easily. People also use InfiniSpan as a distributed cache in front of a relational database. Relational databases are notorious as single points of failure. They're notorious as bottlenecks in high-volume environments and things like that. And using InfiniSpan as a distributed cache in front of a database helps alleviate these things. And further, we're also seeing people starting to use InfiniSpan as a NoSQL key-value data store, as an authoritative data source, which is cloud-friendly and elastic.
And surely no one's here had a crash in their database environment or anything like that, right? Everything stays up all the time, all your network interface cards. We've actually had some fail here on stage for us, just preparing for this demonstration. So we know things fail. So that's an incredibly important point. OK, so if you could, put up the demos for us here. All right. Let me make sure they're set. So what are we going to see here in these demonstrations? So what do we have visualized over here?
OK, so visualizing data is actually a really hard thing to do, right? I mean, bits and bytes, whether they're on disk or in memory, it's kind of hard to see them, to think about them in a visual manner. So we're going to try over here. What we've got here, this is a little web app here, and we've got the same web app running twice on the two different data grids. So you mentioned two grids. The first one where the Twitter stream comes into, that's this grid over here on your left. And this is the other grid, the second grid. Right now there's only one node in there. Each of those spheres represents a node in the cluster. So as more nodes join, you'll see more spheres turn up. And what you're also going to see is the data itself. So as more and more data is loaded into the grid, we're going to visualize that as little dots around these spheres. Little dots, they're going to get bigger and bigger as more and more data is loaded. Now, what you're not going to see, though, is a mirror image of each other. These nodes aren't replicas of each other. We're running InfiniSpan here in a distributed fashion where enough copies of your entries are kept in the grid, but we only maintain as many copies as needed to be durable and fault tolerant. We don't maintain too many copies. So what that means is you're going to see little dots around these spheres, but they're going to be different numbers of dots in different individual nodes.
And what we have going on back here, we actually decided we didn't have enough capacity in this grid.
We've got a few more
so we threw a few more nodes in the grid. You can see they're dynamically adding themselves to the overall cluster. All right? So that gives us additional capacity. Think of all the additional heap spaces you now can take advantage of across those different JVMs. And you can see it animates nicely. Excellent. And this, it should be noted, this is a little HTML5 application. I'll just refresh the browser. You can see it pops back into place. So let's go ahead and start up the Twitter stream, right? So we're going to fill this first grid full of all sorts of tweets coming into the system. And so this is our big grid here. If you could go ahead and crank that up, there it is, starting to come into place.
So those little dots represent actual entries in the data grid.
Yeah, so every one of those little dots there, they represent a certain number of keys associated with each of those nodes. And you can see it's filling in very quickly as the inbound stream is coming in. And if you would, put laptop 2 up for me. So here we go. All right, so we actually have, so Manik, thank you very much. So we have the inbound Twitter stream. You can see here flowing into the system. I cannot be held responsible for anything you see here that's not appropriate for, well, this is an adult conference, right? So we're all good. We're all good. So you can also probably tell there's tons of teenage girls that love to tweet. Lots of Justin Bieber fans out there, I'm sure. So we have the Twitter stream flowing into the system. And the next person I'd like to invite up, all right, is Jay Balunas. He's the project lead for our Rich Faces project. He's kind of our go-to guy for all things GUI here. So, Jay, good to see you.
Hey, all right.
Excellent.
Good.
So you have a number of toys you left over on the table for us. What do you have here for us?
Well, we have a couple different things. We have a Motorola Zoom right here running the latest Android Honeycomb 3.0. We have an iPad 1, obviously from Apple, another iPad, iPad 2, and then a couple of different phone types here, an Android and an iPhone.
You know, I've been checking out the Justin Bieber fans over here running on our user interface.
Right. Now, on this iPad, I've loaded up the same InfiniSpan view that you see over here. And this uses, all of these devices have different aspects of HTML5 support, such as the canvas tag, which allows us to free-form draw whatever images we want. In this case, we're using it to draw the data grid using jQuery JavaScript library, and then pulling that data from the JBoss application server.
And what's neat, you can actually see it pushed directly out. So as it matches directly with what you see over here on the projector.
Yep.
So HTML5 canvas, we basically are taking advantage of HTML5 to live monitor an enterprise data grid filling with data on a mobile device. So very cool, very cool. Thank you very much for that, Jay. And what else have you got for us over here? You got some other toys?
Yep. So as I said earlier, I have a Zoom here running Android, and it's running the exact same application that you see here. This is a Rich Faces 4.0 application written with JSF2, and we've written it in such a way that it can support different device formats and different styles. So in this case, we're running it on a tablet device, so we have to use advanced HTML5 and CSS3 to support things such as orientation shifts. So you see here where the top tweeters and top tags kind of flow as you change the screen. They're always visible because that's the data that's important to you, right? So we use that to our advantage to keep the data clear. Now we also support the Yes, the password will be changed now. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate that. So we actually we support the iPhone version as well, which, of course, is not going to load right now, following typical demo gods.
Okay. Well, but that's excellent. We actually saw the device orientation change. We have Rich Faces 4 also pushing data out to a desktop-based application.
Yep.
Same code base working on a mobile device, including a pad as well as a phone. And maybe you'll get that working before we're done. So there's a couple of things I want to show you. So at this point, we do need your participation, all right? So you guys all have phones, and you guys all have tablet devices. How many people actually here have more than one phone or more and one device? Because you probably have several. This is a software conference. Be proud of that, all right? You got multiple in there. So what I need you to do, and I'm going to just switch pages here and show you guys this, all right? I need you guys to tweet. At this point, we're going to specifically drive data into the overall Twitter stream. We're capturing all those tweets that are flowing into our system. They're filled up our data grid over there. And we need you guys to tweet with this format. So you guys have a Twitter account. You got to break out your phone and basically say #JBW, #app server. We know that many of you guys use the app server today, right? We know that many of you guys use Hibernate today. Maybe you take advantage of JBPM. Maybe you take advantage of Drools. Maybe you take advantage of Tiet or Governor or Snowdrop. Who knows what project you guys take advantage of? You can all vote multiple times. So really, look, you get out your phone. Really, this is where you get to do it. You get to have some fun. We actually have a prize for the top tweeter who tweets the most during our demonstration today. And it's a very cool prize. You don't want to miss out for it. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you, we're going to actually give away one of our data grid nodes. All right? So we're going to give away one of the nodes you see over here in the data grid. So go ahead and get those tweets flowing into the system. Jay, you're doing some tweeting for us here?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so his phone's working? All right, very good. And again, the format is #JBW, #app server. You know, whatever you want to say is awesome, is cool. Say something nice. Come on. It's our conference. And #JBoss. It doesn't require the JBoss. And again, think of the use cases for this sort of technology. We're specifically showing you, again, a flood of data, raw data that has nothing to do with our business per se. And we're going to sift through it, basically using Drools Fusion technology. And many of the Drools team is here today. They can tell you more about this technology. But it does real-time event processing, real-time stream analysis. And it's specifically going to start up, and if you would, go ahead and start up the rules so we can kind of see the data start flowing into our second grid. Okay? Again, we're looking for actionable data that's specific to the use case that we have, and then we can have a real-time dashboard. And as a matter of fact, bring up my laptop 2 here if you don't mind. And so we got that cranking now. Okay? You can kind of see, here's an example, another user interface we created, highly interactive. You can see our data grid filling in over there as well. So you can see App Server is winning this race right now. InfiniSpan is doing pretty well. Archillion. Well, and Jay, do you have this on your mobile device as well?
Yep. Over here on the iPad 2, we're running the Tag Cloud application. This is a GWT application that was written using the JBoss Arai project, which provides an advanced message bus so that you can use CDI and SEAM programming models all the way through to the client on a GUID application while still communicating to the back-end application server.
So this is really cool. We've showed you 3 different user interface technologies, one based on GWT and Arai doing real-time push of CDI eventing directly from the server right out to the client, both a mobile client as well as a desktop client. Again, taking advantage of that new mobile technology. We also have the JSF2 and Rich Faces 4 part of the application pushing out votes. And you can see, you can kind of see right here, right? App server's doing very well.
Yep.
And so actually keep it focused here on what Jay's tablet's doing right here, because we want to be able to see who's winning right now. Notice, right now we have InfiniSpan has done very well, which is great. They're part of the demonstration. Seam, Archillion.
Oh.
What? Mark Proctor. We have Mark Proctor going up to 35 top tweets.
40.
And 40 tweets. Let me look on my console up here. Okay, well, I messed that up. All right, so so what happens here?
He's got 55 tweets in at the moment.
Where's Mark Proctor? So Mark Proctor, obviously, you wrote a script to game our system here, didn't you? Okay. So he's jamming. He's got 64 tweets into the system. Okay. All right, so here's what we're going to do. All right, so Drools might be the winner after all, but we want it to be a fair race. Several of you guys voted multiple times. We've collected all that data into our first data grid. We all have it there. We're going to keep that raw data in place, but let's go ahead and clear out the second data grid. Okay, reset it back to its original state. And then what we're going to do is now we're going to process those tweets yet again and restart the rules. So what we're going to do is change the rules to defeat rules. Defeat Mark Proctor in his little cheating experiment over here. All right? Because we can actually change the rules so it says, the rules right now basically say, hey, if everybody votes for a specific project, right, move that project over into the second data grid. We'll change the rules, and Sonny's already reset the rules for us. Now it's going to look at the sliding time windows, right? So in other words, as the stream is moving forward, you can vote multiple times for multiple projects, but you can't vote for the same project multiple times within a 3-minute window. So that'll eliminate you guys. Some of you guys are probably writing scripts as well, aren't you? All right? So that should drop that out. What kind of results do we have now?
Now it looks like App Server's in the lead.
App Server's in the lead. A lot of App Server fans in the audience. You guys, yay, you like the App Server? Say yeah. All right, very good. App Server's in the lead. What else we got?
Well, it looks like
and InfiniSpan's doing well. They're part of the demo. Excellent.
InfiniSpan's right there. TorqueBox, Seam. Oh, Seam just took over TorqueBox.
Uh-oh. Okay. So it looks like we have Pearl Monkey as our top tweeter, right? Excellent. So Pearl Monkey, why don't you come on down here? Who are you? Pearl Monkey. Excellent. Here he is. Excellent work. We have a microphone. So is Pearl Monkey your real name?
No.
No? Please turn around. Let everybody see you. What is your name, sir?
Sean Cook.
Shanka? Well, it's nice meeting you. You must have incredibly fast thumbs.
Cut and paste.
Cut and paste. Not quite a script, but yeah, pretty close.
When you guys get JBoss running on this, and I can actually do something that
we almost did that as part of the demonstration, was actually let you run those UIs, but we decided we didn't have time to get the network sorted out. But excellent. So you won our presentation today, so thank you very much for your participation, and thank all of you guys for your participation. So Manik, can you come up here and give me a hand? So you notice I told you you're going to get one of our nodes from our data grid.
Sweet.
Right? So what we didn't tell you exactly was you probably thought all this was part of our data grid. Literally, this is just here for show and tell. All right? We mentioned the concepts of being lightweight. We're really focused on being lightweight, and one of the reasons that's important is if you're starting 5 servers and they take 45 seconds each and take a gigabyte of RAM each, yeah, that's no problem. If you're starting 500 servers, specifically in a fabric or a cloud architecture or a grid architecture, and they take 45 seconds each and a gig each, that's going to be very painful. All right, that takes too long and it's too fat. In this case, we actually have these little guys right here. If you help me, there we go. Thank you, Manik.
This is our data grid.
This is our data grid running right here. You guys can see them on the big screen. These little guys right here. So these are our little Linux servers, right? They are a Linux server with a 1 gigahertz processor running an ARM gigahertz processor, 512 megs of RAM.
Your
right?
phone's more powerful than that.
Does it come with a subscription to John?
We might throw anything in. You never know. So our data grid here is running on these CPUs, these little computers right here, these little plug computers. And so that's pretty amazing by itself. But we talked about the fact that fault tolerance is important. And this is where we get pretty crazy in the overall demo. We're going to let you pull the plug.
Let's simulate a network failure.
Right?
Pick a node.
Pick a node. Any
So
node?
pick a node. We're going to jerk the network cable out of it.
How about this one?
All right, this one right here. All right, feel free to pull it out of there.
No, not that one.
Yep. And if you watch closely, watch your overall grid. It takes a few seconds for InfiniSpan to realize that we have lost one of our members, and it'll disappear, and the grid reforms perfectly healthy. So, sir, we're going to get you the cables and all that later, but you're going to come back and pick this up. So thank you very much for being a participant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Jay, all our stuff stayed up. All our clouds are still running here, our Tag Cloud, our Tweet Stream.
Everything's still running. Everything's still pushing.
So from a user standpoint, it all stays up and running. App Server stayed in first place. Drools did incredibly well, though, after all. So thank you very much for that. Again, thank you, Jay. Thank you, Manik. And back to Mark.